Next up, we have Warrick Kernes. He is the CEO of Insaka and an e-commerce expert in his own right. In 2010, Warrick founded the award-winning online store Action Gear and went on to grow and scale the business to doing over 20 million in annual revenue. He later found himself with a deep desire to grow the South African e-commerce industry and help entrepreneurs achieve more success through selling online. This led him to sell his shares in his flourishing business Action Gear and pursue his newfound mission of helping others to start, launch, and grow their very own online stores to achieve more income and freedom in their lives. Warrick then founded the Insaka e-commerce academy in 2017, which has helped thousands of online sellers and is dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs in the best e-commerce training that South Africa has to offer. And to further serve South African online sellers, Warrick launched his podcast, eCommerce Explained, in 2020, where he unpacks how to get your online store started, how to grow your online sales with the best digital marketing methods, and how to scale your business and bring about more success in selling online. Welcome, Warrick.
I often speak to people who are selling online, their websites are up and running, but they're not happy with their sales. Perhaps they've been selling online for a while and it's just ticking over, but they're not really thrilled and blown away by the growth of their sales. Or maybe, well, quite often I speak to people whose websites have just gone live and they're waiting for that first elusive sale, holding their thumbs, praying and doing everything they can to get that first sale, and yet it doesn't come. And any time that I speak to anybody in that situation, anybody at all who's not happy with their online sales, I always ask two questions in return. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys today. So if you have a website that's live on the internet and you're not happy with your sales, well, if you and I were to meet and you were asking me what you can do, I wouldn't have an answer without first asking you two questions in return. First question is, what is your traffic? How many people are coming to your site every single month? And the second question is, what's your conversion rate? Now, I'm going to unpack those two things and more in this short presentation. But firstly, let me thank the guys and the team at eCommerce Africa for inviting me to come and join their event and to speak to you guys today. And, I'm very thrilled to be doing this because this is part of what I do. This is everything that the Insaka e-commerce academy is all about. I started selling online 14 years ago. I started my business in 2010. I started really struggling to figure out how to get that first sale, how to start getting people on my site and getting those sales ticking over. And it was really difficult and it was a big struggle for me. That was back in 2010. I moved back in with my parents, really just like hacking away, trying to figure it out. And back then, I got to tell you, it was a lonely journey. And maybe you're starting your store and maybe you have a partner, maybe you're doing it alone, but often this journey can feel quite lonely. Like we're the only ones here, nobody else to speak to. And yet the reason that I started Insaka was to help solve that, because I started with no mentorship, no community, no support, no training, no events like this. And yet I was able to struggle my way and stumble my way and make mistakes along the way to reaching success. And in 2017, when my business had reached a point of doing 20 million Rand in annual revenue, that's when I sold the business and I started Insaka. And Insaka is here to give you the answers, the training and the support, the mentorship, the community that can help you to accelerate yourself from zero sales, from struggling in the beginning to reaching that first sale, and then many more, and going on to reaching the success that you are dreaming of achieving for yourself. So that's what I'm here to do. My name is Warrick Kernes, and this presentation today is here kind of serving my purpose to help more struggling entrepreneurs to become successful through e-commerce. And at the same time, I can help you guys if you are struggling with this question of the struggle of having a website live and not being happy with your sales. I know I've been there. What do you do? What do you focus on? Well, the answer to all of those questions comes back to those 2 pointers that I gave you a moment ago. What is your traffic? What is your conversion rate? Now let's unpack those two concepts and why are they so important? And when I say they're important, these are the most important things for you to be knowing right now in your business. Because if you don't know these two things, then you're kind of just stumbling around in the dark and you're doing some stuff. You're doing a bit of search engine optimization, maybe a bit of Facebook ads. Maybe you're trying this new thing that you heard somebody else doing and talking about. And yet often it's the basics. This is what I found out. Like, yes, there's a lot of sexy, interesting, exciting things to be trying and testing out, but it's the basics. It's the basics of e-commerce that need to be put in place to have the foundation for success. And these two things, they're the basics. And yet they are so often ignored by people. So let me explain and talk about the first pointer being traffic. The best way for me to explain this and why it's so important is to think about like not a real world example, but like an old school example, like a shop, like a brick and mortar shop. If you had a shop and you opened the doors on a Saturday morning and you were waiting for people to arrive, you know that if nobody walks in the door, then nobody's going to buy. You have to get customers into the shop in order to get sales, right? Okay, so we're on the same page there. And similarly, with your online store, if you don't have customers come into your shop, then you can't expect sales. It's just not going to happen. So we need to get traffic. That makes sense. That's an easy one. But we also need to get a lot of traffic. And a lot is a relative term. But we also need to understand that even like a brick and mortar shop, like in a shopping center, in a mall, not every customer that walks in the front door is a customer that buys. There's a lot of people that walk into the shop. They look around, they check the shelves, and they walk out. Maybe the next person walks in, picks something up, they look at it a little bit, they put it down, and they leave. And eventually, if you get enough people coming through the door, then somebody's going to buy. That's amazing. And so you've had people coming in the door. Not everybody has bought, but a small percentage of people have bought. And I'm going to come back to that percentage in a short while. So we need to get traffic on our store before we expect sales. And so if your site is live and you're not happy with your sales, maybe you're still waiting for that very first sale, then we need to understand that we've got to get traffic, people, visitors, not just anybody. We don't just want any random traffic. We want to attract the right customers, like our people. Like, who are the right people who are going to be buying the stuff that we're selling? Let's get them in the shop. Let's get them on the website. And then when we get enough traffic, we can expect sales. Because just like in a physical shop, not everybody buys, only a percentage of them buy. Same with an e-commerce store. A percentage of people will buy. And we can actually start to figure out what that percentage is. This is pretty cool. And this is coming back to the second point. I mentioned traffic and conversion rate. Now, the conversion rate is that percentage of people who buy in comparison to the number of visitors that you had. So when we look at the traffic on our websites, we can see that only a few of them are converting, and that gives us our conversion rate. And I'm going to come back and unpack that in a second. But when we think about traffic, how much traffic do we need, Warrick? How much is enough? At what point do I start getting despondent? Maybe you're looking at your website traffic. You can go on your WordPress stats. You can go on your Shopify stats. You can go on analytics, any stats you can, and you can see the traffic that your site is getting. And you might look at that and be like, I've already had 200 people on my site and nobody's bought. And that's a little bit heartbreaking. It brings up all kinds of emotions. Maybe you feel that you're just like, nobody's liking your site. Maybe you need to redesign the site. Maybe your products are wrong. Maybe there's too much competition. Maybe your prices are too high. Maybe do we need to do a deal? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I shouldn't have even started it. Let me just go and look for another business. Like, this isn't working for me. It can bring up a whole bunch of stuff. And yet, what I want to explain to you is that 200 visitors is not enough. It's not enough for you to start panicking. And this is especially when you're trying to get your first sale. Now, here's a statistic for you. You're going to like this one. Maybe you're not going to like this. On average, it takes 800 visitors for a new store to get their first sale. And that's a South African stat. And now, when we look at our store analytics and we see we've had 200 people, and you're starting to feel all these feelings of emotions and heartbreak, don't be too hard on yourself. You need to go and get more traffic, because you got to get to 800 visitors before you can expect that first customer, that first real customer. And I'm not talking about your spouse, your brother, your cousin, your friends. Those are great. And we all love it when our friends and family support us. But what I'm talking about is the first stranger on the internet who finds your website, likes your stuff, and buyers. Now, part of this first purchase mentality, and what we also need to understand and be conscious of, is that there's a buyer's cycle. Like there's a thought process that people go through whenever buying anything. And this might sound familiar for you whenever you're buying something. And I'm not talking about going into the convenience store and picking up a Coke. Like that's an impulse purchase. That there's no thought behind it. It's just like, it's cheap, it's cheerful. We just grab it and we go. I'm talking about when somebody comes on your site and they see your products and now they are aware of your products. Do they buy immediately? Well, there's a few people that might buy immediately. They just get excited and they buy. But that happens less and less as your price goes up. There's time for consideration. There's time where people just need to think about it and consider and do a bit of research and check competitors and think about pricing and sleep on it and speak to their spouse and then come back and purchase. And that cycle could be a day, it could be a month, it could be longer. I'm standing here with a stand-up desk in front of me, and it took me a year to purchase that thing. I saw adverts, I read about it, I forgot about it, I saw another advert, I came back and I purchased it. Now that's a long lead time. And when we consider that and we just factor that into our thinking, then we also realize that the traffic that we're getting today, they might not convert now. But if we keep going and keep pushing, they might just convert in a year's time, hopefully sooner, hopefully tomorrow. But there is a buyer's thought process that people go through. So your first sale, don't be too hard on yourself until you get to 800 visitors. Now, 800 is an average. It's an average, which means that you might be sooner, you might be longer. So you might get to 1,000 visitors before you get your first sale. And that's okay. But just understand that if you've got 200 visitors and you're feeling heartbroken, you're feeling despondent, keep going. It is going to happen for you. You've just got to keep getting more and more traffic, because just like a store, not everybody's going to buy. We need to get the traffic in the door to get the sales from the percentage of people that convert. And that brings me nicely back to the second point. Point number 2, conversion rate. Now, conversion rate is the percentage of people that convert, the number of orders that you get from the amount of traffic that you get on the store. So if we get 1,000 people on the site and we get 10 orders, that gives us a conversion rate of 1%. That was easy math. But coincidentally, apart from my math being pretty easy for me, 1% is actually pretty good. 1% conversion rate from a South African standpoint is actually pretty good. Doesn't sound good, but it is. In America and first world countries, conversion rates hover around like 3 or 4%. But in South Africa, our buyers are still catching up with shopping online, trust, deliveries, all of these factors. 1% is actually pretty good. Now, when we look at our conversion rates, these two factors, traffic and conversion rates, help us as entrepreneurs to know where to focus our attention. Because if we're not getting a lot of traffic, we need to focus on getting traffic. But if we are getting traffic, and this is especially pertinent for people whose websites have already been live for a while and they're getting a couple of sales and it's ticking over, but they still feel like there should be more, then we need to look at these two factors, traffic, conversion rates. If you don't have much traffic on a monthly basis, get more traffic. And you know how to do that. No, it's not as easy as as it sounds, but paid advertising, search engine optimization, guest blogging, all of the things that I'm always talking about at Insaka, get more traffic. If you don't have much traffic, you need to get more. And then we can look at our conversion rate. Because if we have a conversion rate of 1%, then we know that for every 1,000 visitors, we're going to get about 10 orders. So if we get 2,000 visitors, we're getting 20 orders. We're doubling our sales. That's great. But there's another little aspect that we can consider here, and that is optimizing our conversion rate. Because if we're getting traffic and we're sending a lot of people to the site and then we're still not seeing that conversion rate 1% or higher, then we should start fine-tuning our site and optimizing our site to convert more visitors into buyers. Optimizing the conversion rate. We're increasing that percentage. And here's a beautiful thing. And here's why conversion rate optimization is my favorite thing to teach about. Because when we increase our conversion rate, that percentage, then something magical happens. Let's go back to my example. We've got 1,000 visitors and we got 10 orders. That's a 1% conversion rate. What if we can improve our site and make small changes to our website that increases our conversion rate from 1% to 2%? What happens? Well, the next month we get 1,000 visitors. It's the same amount of traffic. And yet instead of getting 10 orders, because our conversion rate doubled, we get double the amount of sales. We now get 20 orders instead of 10 orders. That means we had the same amount of traffic and we got double the sales. We didn't go out and do fancy marketing and SEO and guest blogging and really go and work hard to get more people to our store. We had the same amount of traffic and yet we had double the sales without spending any more marketing budget. That, my friends, is why I love conversion rate optimization. And I kind of geek out on this stuff all the time. I really and truly love it because it allows entrepreneurs and online businesses to make more money, get more sales, and be more profitable without going and spending more on marketing. And here's really where the kicker comes in. Because if you are sending more traffic to a site that is converting at a low rate, like 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting your money, more importantly, because you're sending traffic to a website that is not converting at the rate that it should. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your money. So when you know these two things, traffic and conversion rate, this shows you exactly where you need to focus on in your business. If you aren't getting much traffic, focus on getting more traffic. If you're getting traffic and the sales, the conversion rate is lower than 1%, you got to focus on your conversion rate, because as soon as you get that up, then you can get more sales from the same amount of traffic. And then once your conversion rate is up, then you go and get more traffic. Because once your conversion rate is at a good rate, 1% and higher, then go and get more traffic and send more traffic to the site, because you know, on average, like you know your numbers, that if we send more and more people to the site, then we're going to get more sales. Let's take all of my examples and crumble them all together. Earlier, I said we could go and get more traffic and go from 1,000 visitors to 2,000 visitors. Then I said, what if we could increase our conversion rate from 1% to 2%? Well, we've doubled our sales and doubled our traffic, so we are quadrupling our revenue. And that is a winning formula. So if your website is live and you're not quite happy with how your sales are going, here's what you need to do. You need to go and look at your numbers, check your traffic, see how your traffic is doing. And at the same time, if you have sales history on your site, go and look at your conversion rate. Look at how many visitors you've had on a month-by-month basis, and then look at the number of orders that you've had in those same months. Divide the visitors by the number of orders to give you your conversion rate. Now you know where to focus. If your conversion rate is too low, fix that. If your traffic's too low, fix that. Once you've got them both working, then get more traffic. Sending more traffic to a high converting site, you get more sales. And that is where you need to focus your attention next. So don't be disheartened. Don't feel that you're not cut out for this. Just look at your numbers. Know what you need to focus on. And knowing these two metrics, it lays a foundation for success. And this really isn't just something to be focusing on when you're trying to get your first couple sales. This is something that you need to be checking all of the time, even years and years into the future. When your business is bigger, then you need to be focusing on this. These are the same metrics that the biggest e-commerce players in the world are focusing on, and you should be focusing on them too. Now, I've got so much teaching and training to talk about in terms of getting traffic and optimizing our conversion rate, but my time is with you guys here today is almost up. But you can hop onto the Insaka website, insaka.co today, go and join our community, check our free resources, and go and learn more there, because I am doing so much education on these topics and way more about helping entrepreneurs to learn more about e-commerce, to stop being a struggling entrepreneur and move yourself into a position where you can be an online selling business owner where you are crushing it online. That's what I want for you. Join me over at insaka.co today. Follow me on Instagram, and then we will continue this conversation and we'll keep learning about this. And thanks to the guys at eCom Africa for hosting this event and for having me here as a speaker. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers for now.